Thank you so much, everybody. Annalisa, John, and Barry. I learned so much every time I listen to all of you. It's fantastic. I know we had a few questions. I think that Bernie is going to get us started with some of those.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Apropos of Barry's comment about, I think if imparting knowledge is analogized to charging batteries, you charged me at the maximum rate, but you didn't fry my brain, which is no mean feat given how much material you got across. So thank all three of you. And just some recent questions that came up for you, Barry. Since Teslas are bought in New York, does the Connecticut cheaper credit go for those as well?
Yes, it does. If you buy a non-Tesla, you have to buy it from a Connecticut dealer. But since Tesla is not allowed to open stores in Connecticut, they are eligible. The bigger problem with the Tesla is finding one that falls below the 42,000 price cap. And I should add that when the cheaper board reviews the analysis in March, one of the things that may be on the table is raising the price cap. So over the last year, only the Model 3 standard range fell within the price cap, but a recent price rise actually has it above the price cap. So we'll see if that gets reinstated in March. But the fact that they're not in Connecticut doesn't prevent the incentive.
Right. And I just want to add that it can be kind of confusing because Tesla does have a physical presence. They have a Milford location. I just saw that pop up in the chat. They are not allowed to sell. They are not allowed to discuss price. They can't do anything there. They service vehicles. They'll take you out for a test drive. I think you can handle leasing paperwork through there. But if you want to go there and talk to them about how much does it cost to buy a Tesla, they'll point you to a computer screen.
So the other thing that Tesla's not allowed to do, which is why you have to go to Mount Kisco, is they're not allowed to deliver vehicles through their service center.
It's kind of like a pilgrimage, isn't it?
Well, the bill will be before the legislature again this year to permit Tesla, Rivian, Lucid, and other similar companies to open stores. So contact your state representatives and tell them you support direct sales.
Excellent. And Barry, I don't think we have time and maybe bandwidth to go into your analysis of the economics of the Westport police Model 3 police car versus, I think it might have been a Crown Victoria or
it was a Ford Explorer. They don't make the Crown Vics anymore, so so all of the newer ones have been Explorers.
So is that analysis anywhere? So several people have expressed an interest in taking that analysis and going to their town and see if we can't, and I'm one of them, and I think Diane Loricella is another one that would like to say, hey, why can't we do this here if they can do it in Westport? Is that shareable somewhere? Can you put a link or?
Yes, so I am putting a link in the chat to a blog post that I wrote about it. So this is a blog post that's about 2,000 or 2,500 words. So it gets into a fair amount of detail. And if you want more detail than that or backup, then reach out to me and I'll get it to you.
Great. I'm going to jump back up to John Roundtree's presentation. A really important question came across that Westport is an exceptional community in several regards. Just like you singled it out yourself when you said a 7,000 square foot home is not above normal there. And so the question of, we can do it in Westport, but both on new residential construction, call it for smaller, more modest homes in other communities, or retrofits, what's the price differential, or what's the thought process there? Is this something that really confined to the wealthy, or is there a way to democratize it so that we can have near 100% net zero buildings?
Well, I mean, what most builders will tell you is the added cost to go net zero is somewhere between 5 and 10%. So that goes across the board, depending on, depending on what size project you're doing. The, in most cases, the savings, what you're saving from the energy that you're not using will pay for that added cost in under 10 years. So it is, yeah, it is democratic in that sense. I mean, it's really, that house in Long Island, I mean, her budget was very small. We basically insulated and changed the windows, and she's gonna probably, those are gonna pay for themselves in a fairly short period of time, probably 5 to 8 years, maybe. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I think what I took away is if I'm building new, say a $300,000 regular house, I can have a smaller version of what you showed us, either your home or the other home, for maybe a 10% premium on top of that. So a 30,000 premium, which properly financed, and then the defrayed energy cost is going to make that very, very affordable.
Yeah, and I failed to mention there are a number of incentives now, at least in Connecticut, for energy upgrades, heat pumps, conversions, insulation. There's a lot of things. If you go to Energize Connecticut, Energize Connecticut has all of that on their website, but it's definitely worth looking into those incentives.
Right, and then the Green Bank offers smart e-loans for all those things as well.
Right.
Wow. And one question, I guess many of us are tightening up our homes. Not many of us have mechanical ventilation. And I don't know anybody, maybe other than you, John, that has energy recovery systems. Can you just sort of, how tight does it get before we need to have those things?
Well, if you're talking about an existing house, if you're not insulating it and you're not air sealing it, which is what we do in net zero energy homes, if you're not, then you really don't need, I mean, your house unfortunately is leaking enough that you're not going to have to worry about that. It's really when you're really tightly, when you're building airtight homes, when you're using foam insulations or the zip sheathing, you're tightening up the windows. At that point, you really do need a ventilation system. But for most houses, probably not. It's not really that effective if you have an older house.
That's a good news, bad news.
I know. I wish I could say. Open your window.
Open a window. I can't breathe. Open a window. Annalisa, when we're talking about acquiring battery storage, apparently, and I did not know this, in Eversource territory, there's a program called Connected Solutions, which is a demand response. So if you have a battery, I think you might have mentioned that, if not directly, at least obliquely. We could not, while you were talking, we were Googling, and we couldn't find that UI has an analogous system. Are we just not good Googlers, or did UI not really have a comparable demand response system? Do you know?
No, you are great Googlers. The problem is not on your end, it's on the utilities end. So this is so new that I think I mentioned it's not fully baked. So the Connecticut Green Bank is doing a great job of getting this information up on their website. So that's kind of the place to go for now. The utilities are still building it out. So there are the Connected Solutions program that you're talking about is PBI only. So it's the performance-based incentive only, that the upfront doesn't exist. And then the time window is also different on the PBI from the new incentives coming out. So if someone already has a system in place, I would definitely compare the two, because you're PBI eligible only, right? Because you already put it in. I would just compare the two windows to see which one. I think actually the Connected Solutions is fixed. Yeah, the other one is not. The new one is not fixed.
There's a lot there, but if I have a Connected Solutions now where I don't have a battery, but let's just say I allow them to change my air conditioning temperature and my hot water tank, so I have a limited demand response. Am I precluded from, or can I participate in the new Green Bank battery 10 megawatt program that you talked about?
Yeah,
You know?
great question. You are definitely eligible because it's a new install. So in a new install, definitely take advantage of the upfront cost rebate or, the reduction in cost. I'm not sure how they're giving that. I think they give it to the installer, so you never even see it on your bill. And then the performance-based incentive, because with connected solutions, you do not get that upfront cost reduction. So you're better. And just remember also to take advantage of the federal investment tax credit, which is 26%. You can bundle them, as I mentioned.
On that point, if somebody like me, I already have solar panels, but I don't have a battery. I know I can get the ITC, the investment tax credit, on solar panels plus battery. But if I'm 10 years after I bought my panels, I come in and buy a battery, can I get the investment tax credit on just a battery alone purchase?
Yes, you
Yes.
can. That's my understanding. As long as it's connected to solar, yes, you can. And not the grid. You're not powering it from the grid, you're powering it from solar.
From solar.
We're getting in the weeds here. This is fun.
Well, so far we haven't stumped you, so we're not going to go home until we stump you. That's the way these things work. And questions have been coming in. Let's see. Heat pump incentives are not great. Cost of heat pump. Well, that's Elizabeth Yetman is making a point. We're in the age of COVID. We're in the age of supply chain troubles. Heat pumps, as much as perhaps even more than some other appliances and mechanisms, have gone up in price. So, and our incentives probably haven't kept pace with those. This is the weeds. This is where we're going to stump you. Do you think the price of heat pumps is going to moderate? Is this just a bubble, or are we at a new level forever on heat pumps?
So John would probably be good at answering that.
Well, I don't know exactly the answer, but what I will tell you is I talked to a lot of builders. The price of lumber has come down almost to where it was before the pandemic. And I would only assume that everything else will come down as well as the supply chain is solved. But that may take a while. I don't know, but I believe it'll come down. And there's
Right. And this is also an opportunity to write some letters to Katie Dykes at DEEP and say, why are we continuing to let the utilities put in new gas powered equipment when we really need heat pumps and we should be paying people to put in heat pumps? Where is the logic when you look at the Grid Modernization Act that's actually state statute now?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot of people who have put in that set of comments on the conservation load management plan. We heard tonight from an HVAC installer that maybe the gas incentives are going away, but I can't verify that, and that's
Haven't heard it.
haven't heard it either, except from one source, which let's I guess one question, John, when you were dazzling us with the I think it's Piet Mondrian, the abstract artist who worked in squares and rectangles on your roof there. What sort of what sort of racking do you have? And I guess I've never seen an integrated system like that. How do you even, where do you go and how do you ask for something?
well, it doesn't. That product is no longer exists. Unfortunately, it was a Schuco. They called it the energy roof or the Synergy roof. And as far as I know, my system is the only one in the country. It was big in Europe for a while. They were promoting it, and then Schuco actually sold all their solar interests. So it is unique. I've been battling with trying to find other roof integrated solutions that look that good. I haven't found any yet. I know there's the Tesla shingles, but those are hard to get and very expensive from what I know. So yeah, I mean, most systems I design are just standard racking systems that are mounted above the roof.
So my takeaway is that this is some form of cruel taunting that you were showing us something that we can't have.
Yeah, well, maybe in the future. I'm working on that. I tried to get a patent on it, on just redesigning that system, you know, with the heat recovery, but I wasn't able to. But I may go back to it. It is, you know, you really, when you take the heat off the back of the panels, you actually increase their efficiency.
Yes,
So you're getting more solar, you know, from it. And then in the summer you can, you know, expel that air and get more production. In the winter you can take that heat and use it in your house. So we can talk about it. I've got a lot of designs for it, but haven't really figured out how to commercialize it.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that we do have buildings in the state of Connecticut with Tesla solar roofs on them. And I think someone just mentioned an upcoming event this December in the chat. I think it's like $15 per person. You have to register in advance to go see the roof. It's on a brewery, I believe.
Oh,
that's the Connecticut Green Building Council. And that is in the chat. If the speakers can stay on, maybe what we would like to do at this point is maybe open it up if people can unmute and raise their hand, and Deborah or myself or Patrice can call upon you and you can.
Bernie, I might have missed it, but did we answer the question about using the backup batteries,
Oh,
solar?
yeah, I think, John, you showed what looked to be regular batteries sort of chained together and used, it looks like you made your own Roundtree power wall. If somebody wanted to, and somebody mentioned that they have some batteries,
oh.
how would one go about doing that? Or is this another one of your cruel things that only you can do and we can't have it?
I would talk to a solar installer to see if those batteries can be used in a system. I mean, you do need a certain type of inverter to use batteries. You need a hybrid inverter. A typical inverter cannot be hooked up to batteries. So I guess the first thing is that if you're going to put them in, you really need to get the correct inverter for it. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to talk to someone in the business, talk to a solar consultant or solar, you know, company to see if you could use those batteries.
And if you want the incentives, you have to go through a certified installer.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we have a couple hands up. Jean to Joannis, how about if you can unmute?
I read an article a day or two ago on the Clean Technica site about, I think it was 3 European companies who make roof integrated solar systems. My impression of them was that they are very complex with a lot of components. You can't have, you know, water leaking between the panels, so they have gutters underneath. So a rather complicated system, quite expensive, much more expensive than a typical racking system. But they do still exist for people down there in Fairfield County.
That's good to know. That's good to know. That's good to know. Most of these are European products for sure.
Diane, Maricela?
Hi, hey
Hi,
there,
Diane.
John and Ann,
Hi, Diane.
Annalise, and thank all 3 of you for wonderful information. I just had a quick question. The Connecticut Energy Network, it seems like years ago, but a few years ago, we had a speaker, I think it was a person from Yale. They did a questionnaire, and Patrice, I think, has that copy, where they went to many of the towns to see how easy it was to permit solar and renewable energy projects with the local building departments. John, since you had mentioned that you did some work at your mother-in-law in New York, and then I know you work quite a bit in Connecticut, any insight or suggestions on which is an easier process? And because NY CERTA has been around and has been a lot more supportive until recently of the solar industry. So I was just wondering on the local or In New York, they have county government. Any thoughts about,
Are you talking about permitting
Yeah.
these projects?
well, for your green building design, and then adding solar panels and, the electrical inspectors and the plumbing inspectors, all the different types of typical building code stuff. Is it easy in Connecticut? Getting any easier?
I think it's town to town. I mean, Westport is easy because they made a commitment years ago to promote green energy and sustainability. In other towns, it's really town by town. I think it's, there's nothing that prevents someone from putting solar in from a code standpoint, but you definitely need, and building inspectors that know what they're looking at, in fact, when I put my first system in 2001, the building inspector came out and said, what am I looking at here? And I had to explain it to him, and he was cool with it, but it really is town by town. I think, hopefully more and more inspectors are getting educated. In fact, it would make sense to do educational programs for building inspectors. That's something I did years ago. We did a seminar for building inspectors, and because a lot of them are seeing these for the first time. But it is.
Yeah, putting in a plug for Connecticut Green Building Council. It's free to go to Chester on Saturday if you become a member of the Connecticut Green Building Council. And Andrew Bauer is our Fearless Homes Committee leader. He put in the chat the link to sign up. But I wanted to say that we also have an advocacy committee, and we have Melissa Copps, who now works for the city of New Haven. We have discussed the issue of getting some kind of educational program together for building inspectors, because it's some of change is hard, and we want to make this an easy, user-friendly prospect so that we can expedite conversion into renewables and green building design. So yeah, I'll talk with you offline, John.
Yeah, let's grab a coffee. I'd love to catch up.
Great.
Right. And just ancillary to that, the IBEW has a program to train. It's like a 5-year apprenticeship program that they have to train them to be able to install electric vehicle charging equipment, et cetera. And so, the rest of it, like it would make sense to make it a holistic approach for sure.
One administrative issue before I turn it back to Deb to maybe close us down. Patrice notes that some of us got in here without going through the Eventbrite registration. So if you do want to get an email with the chat, with access to the slides, and with access to the recording, please let Patrice know your email address so we know where to send it. And Deb, I think.
Yes, well, thank you, Bernie, and thank you, Patrice, for organizing this wonderful event for everybody. It's just so chock full. So I'm glad we have the recording, and we'll get the slides, and we have the presenters' contact information. So if you have any lingering questions, I think they'll be more than happy to help folks out. And a big thank you to Annalisa and John and Barry, just fantastic information, and the best kind of presentations always make you want to learn more, which it definitely did tonight. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should join the EV club, and I gotta go get those 3 windows. So
Welcome.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to join the EV club than to get solar. Just thought I'd put that out.
I hear you.
And you don't have to have an electric vehicle to join the club. So really everyone is welcome. Deb, thank you so much. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Patrice. Really wonderful being with all of you tonight.
Yeah,
All right.
wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We'll see you all next time.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
great. Thank you.